Uh, Thank you very much. You can listen me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, that's very nice. First of all, I would like to thank to this webinar organizers who have taken this step to look at government responses towards the Indian diaspora, especially during the time of COVID-19. Now, of course, first of all, I would like to say thank to Dr. Atnu Mahapatra because he contacted me, and I am very thankful to him. He is the head of the Diaspora Studies section of the Central University of Gujarat, and I think he has been very kind to contact me, and I'm very thankful to him. Then, of course, there are five or six organizations which have organized this webinar. And I would like also to thank all the organizations because they have taken such a good step to look at the government responses towards the Indian diaspora. Then there are certain people which I must thank according to protocol. I would like to thank to Shri Muralidharan ji, who is the Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs and Parliamentary Affairs in Delhi. Then I would like also to thank the Vice Chancellor of CUG, Ravi Shankar Duveji, Ram Shankar Duveji, and then of course the Vice Chancellor of Wardha University, Professor Rajesh Shukla ji, and then of course there are many people. Especially I would like to thank to my friend Professor Ajay Dubey because we know each other for a long time. Of course I know many people, but then the time will be wasted because what I want to say will I would not have sufficient time. There's a one thing is very good yesterday, and another conference finished, and which was also connected with the COVID-19. A colleague of Dr. Atnu Mahapat organized it, Dr. Naresh Kumar, and there are also many organizations, and we tried to work out certain things and got some new ideas. How can we look at the migrants who have come to India and then who are outside India, the migration, and in which way they are affected by this COVID-19 virus. This is another thing. So this is a supplementary two things which are going on. Now, I would like to say here certain things. I mean, I would divide my whole speech in three sections. One section would be on India. Second section would be looking at the COVID-19. And the third section would be to give you an example of European countries. And then finally, I might give some recommendations what we could do, in which way we can help the government of India to look at the things and then help the people and the social welfare program and economically, sociologically, and psychologically to give them an idea that they are not alone, they are connected to India. Now, about India, well, one of the most important thing is, and I think I am very thankful in a way, the last Prime Minister, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and I knew him from 70s, that he, at the end of 90, the 90s decade of last century, got this idea with the help of people that there should be an Indian diaspora. And I think this was a start where a high commission was created, high level commission was created, and where there were the Lakshmi Mat Singhvi, Shri Baleshwar Agrawal ji, Shri Harmat ji, and of course, one of the most important person was who played a big role, the Secretary of the External Affairs, Jagdish Sharma. Anyway, so it started. And then what was most important, that after Chinese diaspora, suddenly Indian diaspora became well known. And then Pravasi Bharati Divas started in 2003. I think biggest numbers of indentured laborers, the generations and the NRI, they all came to India because they wanted to be connected with the roots. So they thought India has given us a sort of identity, that we are a part of India, and we can ask India, and India can ask us many things economically, socially, etc., etc. Now, this was not only the Pravasi Bharati Divas, but there was also something very important. The Ministry of Indian Affairs was also created, and that started looking at separately from the Ministry of External Affairs, or about the Indian problems. And then, of course, one of the first thing was that this high level commission went to most of the countries, and they talked all sorts of people, and which brought them together. So the people thought India is taking care of us, India government is taking care of us, and we should reciprocate to help them whichever way. After all, India is a land of our forefathers, as they said, Aja Aji. Anyway, so things started, and the only thing was, then two terms came, the NRI and PIOs. PIO was given to the indentured laborers who started in the 1834 to 1916, and the NRI were those who went after 1950 for studies, for education, for trainings, etc., etc. And it became a sort of a very good field, that these two started talking to each other, thinking after all they have met two brothers. But there are certain things also happened, that most of the peoples were belonging to many languages, South Indian languages, North Indian languages, because India is a land of at least five families of the languages and the culture. So some sort of understanding came after all. We are a part of the subcontinent India, and then we are geographically one person, and so we should try to develop a nation of Indian, consisting of cultures and languages, and a process did start at that time. What India has done now, because we are looking at the government response, India did try, even last year, I did know they tried to help the people from various countries, and the planes were sent there, and the people came over here. Now also, especially from the Middle Eastern country, there are a lot of Indian migrants have come here, and they are also a part of Indian diaspora, and they are also being taken care by the government of India. Of course, the problem comes that we have to deal with all sorts of language. Communication becomes a problem. It's not only English, because many people who went to many countries, they were a sort of unskilled or semi-skilled people, and they did not have command on the languages. But anyway, something was done, and the India government did try to develop some sort of a relationship with them. But then suddenly certain thing happened, and that was this year. And there, I think the role of India government is very important. I was also in February to India, and 15th of February I returned back to Netherlands. At that time it was not known, but suddenly it became known that coronavirus is spreading not only in India, in many countries. And then, of course, lockdown started, physical distances or the social distances started, that one should talk to each other at least a distance of 1.5 meter. And then, of course, then the mask also started, you should wash hands, etc., etc. So many things started. And India government also did all whatever they could do, but for them also all these things were new. I mean, if I know, I mean, there have been all the time uh, big epidemics in India also. But suddenly, no one thought, and it started from Wuhan, from China, as it is called. So, socially speaking, the families were completely disrupted. They could not have the rituals, they could not have the temple worship, they could not have even the festivals, and they could not have the birth, death, all these sanskars which are a part of Indian Hindu family, they could not have it. And so the India government did start some sort of disciplinary approach that we have to think in those lines, otherwise we are lost and people will die. And of course, now India is the second country after United States. So many problems are in India because of COVID-19. Anyway, but what is more important here, that the India had a big problem, and the problem was that India is a subcontinent and divided into many languages and many cultures. Of course, the only cultures and languages one can see in a family. People cannot go everywhere and can see it. They can read, but those are the students. But during the lockdown, the schoolings and the universities, everything was closed. And in that way, the people could not work and could not meet each other. Now, these have been the problem, but you have to divide two ways: rural problems and the urban problems. I think urban problems became more serious than the rural problems. And that's why people started migrating, walking, and people died. And then in that case, we could not stop the COVID-19. Of course, India did try, but question is, when you have such a big country, such a big population, divided into so many languages and culture, it becomes difficult to communicate with them. But India did try. The social medias, radios, TVs, everywhere, India did try that they should understand the COVID problem, and if they can follow certain discipline, we are sure that the COVID would be over. Now, having said this thing, I would try to now give you an example of European countries, and Netherlands is a country which I can give the example. One of the biggest problem of India was, and India still has, we haven't got a medical system. We haven't got the medical insurance. Whereas if we look at the Netherlands, everything is, I mean, all the people are insured. If they go to France, if they go to Germany or wherever, through the computer, one can find out what type of sickness or diseases if he had. The doctor will find out and give them all the medicine. When in Netherlands this thing is started, it's a very interesting, because in Netherlands has about 1600 intensive care unit beds, where you have the complete system of ventilators for breathing, etc., etc. And so they could go. And I must tell you, even the Indians who are the NRI and PIO, both are here. They stayed here. They did not want to go back to India. They did not want to go back to Suriname, because Suriname is the country, the Dutch is Guyana, from where the many Indians came here, because they were medically secured. And once you are secured medically, then you need not to spend money. Another thing was in this country, and that was also in Germany, if you haven't got a job, whether you are a student or whether you are a working laborer or whatever, then the government will help you by giving you subsidies. And subsidy for living is about 900 euro. And 900 euro is a very big subsidy. Anyway, so one of the biggest things which has developed here and which has also developed in India, and that is the through the unemployment, through, I mean, India did not have all the subsidies. You developed a psychological implications. People started thinking, well, I can't do anything. I am isolated. I have no friends. I have nothing. And even those people who went to see the elderly people, they could only see through the glasses, not any. And once they died, then of course they were also not shown the funerals or the cremation or whatever it is. So this was the problem in the European country, which also I think continued in a way, but less way in India. Of course, universities has been closed, education systems for the primaries and secondary, they were also be closed. Recreation centers were closed, and still they are closed. I mean, now slowly the schools are starting, but everyone is working very hard to have vaccines, because without vaccine, I do not know for how long we have to stay. This is with India, this is with the state, this is with Brazil. Brazil also suffered a lot, and that means that we have to have a certain discipline, and discipline is to use the mask for the time being, to use the hand washing, that's also necessary, and not to live in dirt, because the general statistics have come. Those people who have been poor, those who did not get anything, they suffered a lot because they could not take care, and they got this infection of intensive COVID-19. Now, another problem for India is here, that everything is okay. Indians are not interested to go back, neither from Germany, not unless until like there have been the marriages or the death or certain festivals when Indians NRI wanted to see their families, they could not because aviation has been stopped. Now, this has given the psychological problems to many Indians. They always think, damn it, what's going to happen with my family? So, this is another thing. But now, another problem which I think we will have to see in Netherlands, in Germany, in France, there are thousands, I'm using the word thousands, of illegal migrants, Indians. Now, they can't do anything. Of course, once they are in Netherlands, then they are taking care, they are giving the money, and they are giving the accommodation to live on. But in many other countries, it is not possible. Now, what could be done for this illegal unemployed laborer? This is a problem which I have always in my mind. Now, I think the best way would be that somewhere we should think that they are our people, Indian people, and we should help them. And how can you help them? The only way is that the Indian embassies, who are, sorry to say, not so much interested about the Indians here, except if they have a friendship, then it's a different story. So I think Indian embassy should do a lot and lot to contact these people, to develop some sort of feeling that they are not alone, they are a part of India, like it happens with the Japanese people. So this should be done. And secondly, which I feel is very interesting about the government point of view of India, we should understand the Indian also. Embassy people are not trained in cultural cultural democracy, not sorry, cultural diplomacy. And once they do not know the culture, what happens? I tell you very frankly, I have seen 40, 50 years here in Netherlands. When an ambassador comes or even a secretary comes, he doesn't know the culture. 6 months are wasted and money is wasted. Then they try to learn slowly what a culture of this country is. Then after a year, they start thinking we have to go back. So again, the interest is lost. So what I'm trying to say, that the Indian government should develop some sort of cultural diplomacy for the staff of the embassies or high commission offices, so that they should understand the Indians. And once they understand the Indians, I'm sure we can move further. The only thing is here that Indians, whosoever live, whichever the Indian areas, and they want to go back, if they want to go back, then we should know what type of Indians they are, because they are not the copy of India. They are different. They have developed many traits and elements in their culture, like Hinduism also accepted many things and made it Hindu culture. The same thing they are also doing, and they are developing things in their own way. What we should do from the government of India, that in those areas where the Indians are living, if they are producing certain things, I think we should buy them, and we should also sell our things with them, because they are our lobby. Indians are our lobby, because tomorrow when they're in United States, United Nations, the language thing comes up. The language, who is going to be our lobby? The Indians outside India. I think these are the things which I can say. So I would like to thank you,
Thank you,
all
sir.
my friends who are there. I think we have to look at the things differently, and it
Thank
is
you, sir.
not so easy. And then the implementation becomes the biggest problem. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
sir.
much for giving me a time, and I am sure I could say something. Thank you.